Close to home in Sylvan Lake, a Homestead, Florida woman sought to find a local house with special ties to her family history. Not sure of where to look, Dawn Kressly turned to the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society and the Sylvan Lake community and was able to connect with the design of her great-grandfather dating all the way back to 1919. Dawn Kressly joins us now on the Splash Live to tell us more about her exciting journey. Dawn, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on, joining us all the way from Florida just a few weeks ago. Before this, you were right here with us in our local community. You came into town, you're coming into town for a wedding, but beforehand, you were going to be in the area. You wanted to find this connection with your great-grandfather. You didn't know where to start. Now, you eventually found the house that you were looking for in the city of Sylvan Lake, but now, what was the process like to find that actual house along the way?
So I actually contacted the Historical Society, who put me in touch with Helen Jane Peters, who is the resident historian. Mm-hmm. And she was able to tell me that she had actually babysat in the house and knew the couple that was living there and contacted them to actually let me visit the home and learn more information about all the things that my great-grandfather had done in the community back in the 1920s.
Yeah, Helen Jane Peters is such a great resource for Sylvan Lake history and for all these different stories that date back sometimes maybe just a few years, sometimes all the way back to the very beginning and some of those seminal moments in the history of the city of Sylvan Lake. Dawn, for you, of course, you have that family connection to Charles Fisher, who was your great-grandfather and designed this particular home in Sylvan Lake, known as Wildwood. It's on Oakwood in Sylvan Lake. It was the family name for the home was Wildwood. That's really all you had, was the name of your great-grandfather, the name of the home, and the fact that it was in the city of Sylvan Lake here in the Greater West Bloomfield area. But what sparked your desire to make this connection with your great-grandfather and see this home? What got you interested in that?
So I was excited. I had never visited Michigan before. I had heard a lot of great things about the Pontiac area. I knew that's where my grandmother was born. I knew that the time that they spent in Sylvan Lake, my dad's oldest brother and sister were born in Pontiac and spent 2 years there. My grandfather was in medical school, and I knew that there was a lot of precious memories there, and I just wanted to visit the area and see the home, and it was amazing.
You can see the home on your screen, some pictures, some of the historical pictures. You saw a look of what it's like today over on Oakwood in Sylvan Lake. And Dawn, for you, this kind of all came together so quickly. Helen Jane Peters, I spoke with her just before this interview earlier on today, and she had mentioned that in the days before, that's when you were making contact with the Historical Society. They got through to her, and she actually made contact with you, say, hey, I found the home. I've talked to the homeowners. They want to have you come in and take a look at this home with those ties to your great-grandfather. On the day you arrived, as you were at Detroit Metro Airport, coming in. Now, what was that moment like for you to not only hear, hey, I found the home, the people that are in the home are welcoming me into it, but to have that happen as you're actually getting into town that day?
It was just amazing. I couldn't believe that such a small community could offer such information and, just such friendliness. It was amazing. And I had the photo album, and I took it with me into the home to meet Barbara and Mark, and they were just so amazing and so interested in seeing all the old pictures and comparing the old rooms and what they were like then and what, you can see similarities now. And it was, everybody was just so amazing and giving me information about the buildings that my great-grandfather had built in the community. I had no idea that he had built City Hall, that he had built a schoolhouse that, was a very popular building in the community, that him and my grandmother had donated a painting, Mary Had a Little Lamb, that is also an amazing story. And this information has just been so wonderful to share with my family members who really didn't know this information from my family. After I talked to an aunt after World War II started, uh, a lot of things in Michigan were, I think, kind of lost. So this was just amazing information that a lot of the family members just were blown away hearing about.
And it was an interesting part of the story too. Helen Jane told me that something that both she and you were pretty surprised to find as you were able to tour this home during your time in Sylvan Lake was that it was built in 1919. A lot of what was in the original design is still part of how it is designed and laid out today, including something pretty cool. You mentioned that this kind of all sparked from wanting to get a little bit big of a connection to your grandmother who last lived in the area from your family. Charles Fisher, your great-grandfather, his grandchildren had their hands imprinted into the feet imprinted into the den's plaster wall. It's still there.
Oh, interestingly enough, my grandmother was an art major at Beaver College back in the 1920s. And there she is. And she would always do handprints of her children and grandchildren. And as soon as I saw the footprints next to the fireplace, I knew that was my grandmother with her children doing footprints in the plaster. It was just so very touching to see that it had been restored and that it was just amazing.
How surprised were you, Dawn, to find that the community was so helpful, so welcoming in making these connections for you, and in the process being able to sort of bring together those connections that they have to their city history through places like the Daniel Whitfield School, which your great-grandfather helped to design. Of course, the Mary and Her Little Lamb painting that was in the Whitfield School has recently been restored in the city of Sylvan Lake. How surprised were you that these connections were so strong and that you were able to make that sort of immediate connection with the Sylvan Lake community yourself?
All I can say is it was just so very touching that the community was just so warm and welcoming and able to share this information that really my family and my aunt, who's in New Hampshire right now, still alive, I was able to share this information with her. Just so heartfelt thanks to everybody in the community that were able to share a lot of this information that none of us were aware of. I tell this story to people in Miami and friends I have here, and people cannot believe the amazing people of this small town in Michigan that were able to share such history. And, that I was able to pass this along and that we can continue to pass this along to, the rest of our family.
The prettiest little city in Michigan that's more than just the picturesque views on Sylvan Lake and in other areas. Dawn, thank you so much for joining us, and big congratulations to you to be able to have gone on this journey and found what you were looking for here in the city of Sylvan Lake.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Helen and Barbara and Mark and everybody that helped to make this journey possible this summer. Best part of my summer. I can't say thank you enough.